Hi everyone, it's Natalie here. So it is the Saturday, Saturday the 15th of May. I cannot believe May is going so quickly. Um, so I'm going to do the Mo reading for the week of the 16th through the 22nd. And we shall see what happens. May is a very traditionally very Buddhist month. It's usually the month in which the Buddha's birthday is celebrated. So it's usually celebrated on or around the full moon. So actually, the full moon is rather special this month. It's kind of sweet. It usually happens on a Sagittarian full moon, and I'm a Sagittarius, so it's pretty cool. Anyway, it doesn't always happen on a Sagittarian full moon. Sometimes it's the Scorpio, but it's kind of nice this time that it's the Sagittarian full moon. So yeah, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and start my practice. Om Arapatana Di, Om Arapatana Di, Om Arapatana Di, Om Arapatana Di, Om Arapatana Di. Oh, Midama, Hetu Prabawa, Hetun Taken Tato Gato, Hayo Wata Taken Sayo, Niroda, Ewan Wadi Mahashamana Soha. Oh, Midama, Hetu Prabawa, Hetun Taken Tato Gato, Hayo Wata Taken Sayo, Niroda, Ewan Wadi Mahashamana Soha. So I was just taking my time putting the bell down because I like to hear, just like to listen to it fade. So nice to listen to it just kind of quietly go away in the distance. Okay, so got the little Manjushri pouch here. So here's the die. And we want to know what the outer influence is for the coming week. General conditions. What are the general conditions and influences outwardly for the coming week for all of us, please? Interesting. Okay, so this week we have Tsa. Okay. All right. So Tsa is first, and really it could go either way. It could be like a really positive, a really mediocre, or a pretty nasty one, depending on what comes next. We can't expect good conditions all the time, right? So we want to know now what the inner influence is going to be. Okay, Tsa, and the second one is Ra. Tsa and Ra. Okay, and sorry about my fingernails. I've been gardening today, and so I just now looked down and realized that they're like totally caked with stuff. So that's horrible. Yeah, I've done a lot of gardening in the last couple of days. So we're looking for Tsa Ra. Finding is a trick. All right, but I think I found it. It's actually not bad. Not bad. Okay. So this is Tsa Ra. This is not one I've had before. And you can always tell because I'm like, oh, I don't know how that one's gonna come out. It's clear when I'm familiar with the particular combination and when I'm really not. So Tsa Ra, as you can see, looks an awful lot like the double-edged flaming sword that Manjushri holds, right? So yeah, if Tsa Ra, the great fiery weapon, appears, then one is successful, just as one receives a reward for bravery, having been victorious over all. So this one happens to be a very, very positive one. I almost had the other ones memorized, like the negative combos memorized. And then they just kind of went. And I don't know, who knows? So what number is this one? This is, it doesn't say. We just need to go with Sita. Okay, and Ra. All right, so the great fiery weapon. So what do we have? The sign of this divination is known from the words of Yamantaka, the chief of the wrathful army who destroys the enemy, the destroyer of those with wrong understanding, who roared, defeat the enemy, subdue Mara. Very interesting. Okay. So Mara in Buddhist cosmology is like the devil, kind of in Western cosmology, except that Mara is not an actual devil necessarily, so much as just our ability to misinterpret the world around us, which is also known as deception or wrong understanding or delusion. Okay, so how does all of this relate to something like family, property, and life? So diligently, it says, diligently and continually perform rituals to the protectors, then things will be very good. So if you have any protector deities or spirits or devas that look after you, this is a good time to go ahead and make offerings to them. I have a really nice one that I've been meaning to offer to my protectors, and I clearly need to. It's like, okay, make sure whatever you do. Intentions and aims. Being victorious over every direction leads to success. Especially, there is great success for the Dharma activity of wrathfulness, such as subduing others and the like. Just by the recitation of wrathful mantras and so on, there will be success. I'm going to need my glasses, but let's talk about wrathfulness in Buddhism. So if we're talking about wrathful and subduing others, in so many ways, we're not necessarily talking about like, taking your Vajra and sort of like, I subdue you, you have to do what I say, right? Which is very much an egoic function. To be wrathful in Buddhist cosmology is a lot different. So, like, hang on. So, like, just as some of the Taras are really peaceful and very loving, like that's the wrong way. The Tara behind me, she is right there between the two candles. Green Tara is very peaceful. She's there to really work just through compassion. She doesn't need to use wrathful effort. Other Taras use wrathful effort. Okay, so here's an example of a more wrathful Tara. This would be a semi-wrathful Tara, okay? She doesn't have any fangs. That tells us that she's not a completely wrathful Tara, okay? The really wrathful Taras all have fangs. So, for example, the sixth Tara is the Tara that we all invoked around social justice to put an end to the harmful influences of white supremacy, right? So not necessarily to kill or hurt anyone, but to, it's like taking a technically a Vajra is a weapon, but this is a peaceful weapon. It's not open. A Vajra that would kill you would be like open like this, but it would be like taking a dagger, like a purba, and just stabbing it into the ground. Like stop. It's putting a wrathful. It would be like wrathfully getting someone's attention to stop them from harming themselves, right, or others. So your intent in a wrathful action is not to harm, right? It's not to seek retribution. It's more to put a stop to something that's delusional, unhelpful. It could be as simple as like deflecting an energy, like, someone sending you really harmful energy and being like, stop, that's enough. Because it's harmful to you and it's harmful to that person, right? It's not necessarily to send it back to them or wish that they have karma, that will get even with them, okay? I don't have any personal judgment about that necessarily, but that's not actually what the practice is supposed to be. The intent would, of course, be that the wrathful interaction, right, or intent would be to prevent them from harming you and from further harming themselves with harmful intent through the use of harmful intent. Harming others harms us ultimately. So wrathful intent is really intended to put a stop to violence. It puts a stop, but frequently you have to come in with a force that's strong enough to intervene, right, or to intercede, to match the energy and or overpower the energy in order to quell it. I hope that makes sense. All right, so there we go. And yep, the glasses are coming out because I can't see shit. Okay. So, friends and wealth. So wealth, food, drink, and the like will be obtained through force. Interesting. So that gives us that presents us with an interesting idea. Do we need, do we end up finding these things? Do we get wealth and so forth by actually being forceful about it? Or, do we do it by being assertive? That I don't know. I don't actually know the answer. I guess it depends on, is the forceful action something that harms someone else? And then is that, because that's not a way that I want ever to go after food, wealth, friends, etc. I don't know. Do you have to make a big effort to get to the grocery store? Because, I don't know. That's a funny one. All right. Moving forward here. So all enemies will be destroyed and you will be victorious over others. Interesting. So an enemy would be the energy of the enemy, not necessarily the enemy themselves, right? So you could have a self part in yourself that's an enemy right now. The intent would be to find a way to quell that enemy or stop it from harming you, right? And that would be in some ways destroying it, right? By having to wake it up wrathfully, that would be a form of destruction. And you will be victorious over others. Okay. These are things I struggle with. I believe that that's the way it's intended because, the way I'm interpreting it is the way it's intended because that's pretty consistent across all of, Buddhist philosophy and cosmology. Keeping in mind that until recently, like the Dalai Lama, really was never showed any real intent toward harming China, right? And the Chinese government, so much as, doing a wrathful sort of like stop. You have to stop what you're doing. It hurts. It harms. I'm going to choose to see it that way because the other side of it is, and this is something I wrestle with this particular, with Divination, which is that, within Tibetan Buddhism, sometimes the protectors and are used harmfully in harmful ways, and sometimes against other Buddhist sects. So again, the Dalai Lama has kind of made it clear, like, that's not okay. That's not an okay way to do things. I'm guessing that my interpretation right now is probably closer to what the intended message of things is supposed to be. And I would also venture to say that the way that we would normally interpret a statement like all of your enemies will be destroyed and you will be victorious over others, that, that sort of more egoic, I will vanquish my, that's, I'm sure at times how that was interpreted and used. So I just thought I would name both of those and be as straightforward about it as possible. Because I know that exists, and that's a problem that is often talked about in Tibetan Buddhist circles. So the ego is dangerous. I mean, it can... It's hard. This is hard. This is the challenge of being in a body, guys. Right? It's the challenge. Okay, so guests will come quickly and will be victorious over others. That's great. Illnesses will be cured. Evil spirits. This one's kind of fun. Okay, I can't see it as well. They don't have the chance to look at you, let alone to trouble you. You are so strong. You have the ability to keep the mind of others under your control, so you should produce compassion for them. Okay, so that's a little bit closer to what I would have expected. That's kind of ideal. That's kind of ideal. I've had that sense of things before with like so-called evil spirits, of them being kind of like more afraid of me than I am of them. And I kind of feel bad for them in a way, like, oh, you're kind of scared of me. I don't know why. But yeah, that compassionate nature, that compassionate energy can be terrifying sometimes. If you think about the times in which, in your life when you've been afraid of somebody because they're so kind, it's like, what's the catch? And that's kind of, I don't know if you've ever, anyway, I've had that experience before where I've been like, I don't know if I can trust you because you seem really loving and kind, but how aware are you really? And when it's authentic, it is terrifying. It can be really terrifying, right? Depending on where you are in yourself, right? When you're feeling a lot of shame and fear and guilt and anger and more shame and guilt, that type of energy does feel really intimidating. It does feel really intimidating. Okay. Spiritual practice, power and violent activities will produce clear results. So, like, believe in yourself, I guess. Believe in your own power. Believe in, I'm not sure about violent activities. I don't know what that means. I'm stumped. Stump the chump, eh? I don't know quite how to interpret that. And again, there's so few books published about Tibetan Mo. Yeah, I just don't know. But we're also not, keeping in mind too, this is a medieval text, right? What do we know about the medieval times? The people like fought each other a lot. There are a lot of battles and a lot of wars. So yeah, I mean that kind of, under that context, that makes sense. There you go. So actually that brings a lot of context to everything that we've had in this reading so far. Yeah, if you were living in a medieval era and you're in, on the Asian steppe practicing Mo, and you someone came to you who was going to lead an army against Genghis Khan, you'd kind of want to know that stuff, right? That would be terrifying. And that is that is a context actually to bring to this. That's pretty important. If you've lost something, any lost articles, they'll be found. Will they come and will the task be accomplished? Okay. You can guess where this is going to go, right? It is certain to be accomplished. Yeah. Anything that we're going to do this week, like we have that sort of victory and wisdom, that it's flaming. The flaming sort of wisdom is with us. So we're able to do whatever we need to do. All remaining questions. This prediction deals with the act of showing strength in all matters. Generally, the performance of works involving earth and water will encounter difficulty. Such activities as causing thunderbolts, hail, and the like will be accomplished. Gotta use the glasses. Here we go. Rely upon the meditation deities with wrathful mantras and yamantaka. If you rely upon the meditations and practices involving fire and air, such as the path of inner heat, Tumo, and the melting of the Bodhisattva to produce bliss, that's one that I practice, then you will have an excellent ability to accomplish power and violent activities. Well, there we go. So, Aline, if you're watching, we have the power this week to use Tumo and melting of the Bodhisattva, which is, powerful compassion, to be able to do violent things, because that's what we're up to. Let's see. You should rely upon Yamantaka, Hayagriva, Mahakala, and the male deities of the activity family, which is the karma family. It's the green one. Such as Amoghasiddhi. Okay, so Amoghasiddhi is the Buddha that rules over the karma family, so the green one. By relying upon Vajrakilaya, you will gain power. It is especially good to rely upon Manning, Mahakala, Leshin, or Vajrapani. So this prediction is known as subduing all others by being endowed. So what are we endowed with? I'm going to say we're endowed with tremendous wisdom, with the kind of power that comes from wisdom, and by compassion. So, wow, this is going to end up being a longer one this week because so much is coming up here, but I think it's worth to talk about, right? Because this is, this is real. We do perceive enemies. So even I'll tell you honestly, I perceive enemies all the time. We all do. Anytime our ego is in any way wounded or put in its place by someone or something, we're going to perceive an enemy there. That's real. That's just real. It's not the same thing as a group, as an army coming after you with weapons. That's going to overtake your whole town, kill your family. It's a very different discussion. So looking at, I guess, contemplating the world in which this, from which this text and divination form originated, it's an important aspect, right? Just in the way we do with tarot. So, wow, that's pretty wild. So essentially we're being told, so the karma family, I'll do a little interpretation here. So the karma family is about activity. It's about technically it's a family that turns, okay, so it's clear to me that I need to create a mandala that shows all of the families that are being referenced here. So like I said, they reference the activity family. And any of the Buddhas or protectors and kind of more fierce deities that are associated with it. So think about the element of air. Essentially what we have here is air and fire. So Tsa and Ra is air and fire. It's like, blown up in smoke. Ra is to do with the voice. It rules the voice. And so anything that you speak, right? Any words that come out of your mouth are going to have tremendous power in the coming week. Anything that we give air to, anything that we feel impassioned by is going to be favored, right? Because of that. Similarly, again, the green karma family, So if you look at all of these prayer flags here behind me, you notice how they're all kind of in a particular order. So the green ones are the ones associated with what's called the karma family. There are other names for it. But the karma family deals with activity, and the wisdom of the karma family is transforming jealousy into all-accomplishing wisdom. So it's being able to take whatever feelings come up about what other people think about you, or whatever other things come up that are to do with envying others, envying what others have, what they're able to accomplish, etc. And it's taking all of that fire, that inner fire that comes from the Ra, and transmuting it and transforming it into an energy that gives you your own power, right? Compressing it into a place that it gives you your own power, so that as you speak your own words, your own voice, it's being fueled by that power, by that fashion, and it becomes this like wind that goes out and can almost blow away or blow down anything in its path. Keeping in mind too that Ra and fire, the syllable Ra and the element of fire are also very much about the heart and about passion, magnetism. Ra resonates with, the syllable Ra resonates with this red color that I wear, that is feminine and wrathful in nature, both simultaneously. In Tibetan Buddhism, feminine is wrathful. It's also wisdom. It's also wisdom. But it's also related to the red family or the Padma family. So we've got like this red-green family thing happening. But because the red is on the inside and the green is on the outside, what we end up with is this sort of air, this fire that's fueling this wind almost, that can blow anything down. Very much like what we see with this, right? You think of that sword as being air with the fire around it. It is giving this all-accomplishing wisdom that allows us to magnetize and draw in anything we want or need, while simultaneously being victorious over anything we go after. So it's a lot of masculine energy overall. I know this is complicated and I'm not fully explaining everything that's here. At some point, I want to do that. It's a matter of having the time to do it because of working so much, and having so many other goals right now, so many other things that I'm trying to get done. But at some point that will be a thing that happens, because it is part of my overall goals, but has not yet come together. The PDFs have been created. We're getting there. It's just not there yet. At any rate, moving forward this week, I hope that's clear. If anything, remember that whatever it is that you are passionate about, that you go after, you're going to have the ability to attain it. Take your passion, compress that energy, passion, compassion, anger, any sense of wrath that may be within you, compress it into an energy that you can make useful, that you can turn into something useful. And you will be victorious over all of your enemies. Okay. And I hope you don't find any enemies, by the way. I hope that there aren't any that are out there just lurking, waiting for you. All right. So this is quite long enough. I can tell it's going to be quite an editing job, but there we are. All right, folks, have a beautiful week. And I will look forward to talking to you again for certain around the new moon, if not before. Okay, bye.